and welcome to What's Up with Real Estate, where we cover the three most important talking points from the previous week's real estate and mortgage related news and events, along with Stoic quote of the week, fun with puns, and please welcome our special guest host is dun dun dun. Say hello, ChatGPT.
Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with Mortgage Mac. This week's headlines may hint at a cooling economy. Core PCE inflation eased to 2.6% year over year, GDP dipped in Q1, and job growth is, well, let's say, meh. And yet, the Fed is still holding the line on interest rates. Why? Tariff uncertainty and a still solid 4.2% unemployment rate are keeping them cautious. Let's dive into what it all means for your wallet, your home, and your game plan.
That's right. All this and more news you can use for weekending. Let's see, what weekending is it? May 9th, 2025. I am your host, Mortgage Mac. That's first name Mortgage, last name Mac. And you know what? We know that we make a difference in the lives of the people that we served. And if you don't believe us, go to Google, type in hashtag Mortgage Mac and check out our nearly, let's see, on Google, we have like 130 five-star reviews. Is that about right? ChatGPT. And then on the other platforms, we have, 30, 40 or so, but lots of reviews. And we think you'll be convinced too that working with Mortgage Mac gives you an edge if you're a real estate agent and gives you an edge if you're a buyer. So let's move into talking point number one, shall we? All right. A weak jobs week. April's job numbers were lackluster to say the least. ADP reported just 62,000 private sector jobs added, while the BLS report looked stronger at 177. But revisions to prior months paint a softer labor market. This divergence between ADP and BLS is widening again. And let's bring in our resident expert on just about everything ChatGPT and lay out some questions for ChatGPT. ChatGPT, should we trust the BLS headline, or is ADP a better pulse check for private sector jobs?
That's a great question. The BLS report is often seen as the gold standard because it covers a broader spectrum of the economy, including government jobs. However, ADP focuses solely on private sector employment, which can give us an early indicator of business trends. Both have their strengths, but the divergence suggests we should look at the overall trend rather than just one month's numbers.
Yeah, so how does a weak job market affect housing demand in your view?
A weaker job market can definitely put a damper on housing demand. When people feel uncertain about their job stability, they're less likely to take on big financial commitments like buying a home. It could slow down the market, especially for first-time buyers or those on the edge of affordability. But on the flip side, it might also keep mortgage rates in check, making borrowing more attractive for those who are ready.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm just curious though, is there any quantifiable data as it relates to the revisions of ADP and BLS here over the most recent, let's just do the most recent, the first quarter or even the final quarter of 2024? Weren't there some big revisions in both those numbers that impacted the Fed stance as it relates to interest rates?
In the first quarter of 2024, the BLS made a significant downward revision, reducing job growth by around 818,000. This highlighted a softer labor market than initially reported. Such large revisions have indeed impacted the Fed's stance, leading them to adopt a more cautious approach on interest rates as they navigate the economic uncertainties.
Yeah, uncertainty is the key word. And we've been predicting again since the first quarter of this year that we are headed for recession, and it is being orchestrated purposely. So let's move on to talking point number two. Let's see, homes for sale are up big. Inventory jumped in April, up 7.5% month over month, and over 30-year reaching the highest level since 2019. But we're still below pre-pandemic norms, but getting much, much closer. And the third of this inventory is clustered, you know what, in just three states: Florida, Texas, and anybody want to guess what the last one is? California. And so with that said, let's bring in our resident economist, ChatGPT, because we have questions for our friend and co-host ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, sales are up big, or homes for sale are up big. What's driving the increase in inventory now, and is it sustainable?
Well, the rise in inventory is largely driven by a combination of factors. More sellers are listing to capitalize on still relatively high home prices, and there's a bit of a normalization as mortgage rates stabilize. It's also the spring selling season, which naturally boosts listings. As for sustainability, it might level off if economic uncertainties continue or if mortgage rates rise again. But for now, it's a healthy sign for buyers.
Definitely, and I can tell you that, I was talking to a builder friend of mine yesterday who's in that five, six, 700 price point, and my pipeline's full of $300,000 or less, and that's a really good sign because in 2023 there was nothing for sale under 300,000. So the clearly the increase in inventory is good for the real estate market. Do you believe, ChatGPT, that maybe many sellers are just trying to get out of the current situation, even though they may have a low interest rate, just because that they believe that the value of the home that they're selling has peaked?
Absolutely, that's a strong possibility. Some sellers might feel that they've hit the peak of their home's value and want to cash in before any potential market cooling. Even with a low interest rate, the fear of losing out on top dollar can drive them to list now. Plus, some homeowners might be looking to downsize, relocate, or move to areas with a lower cost of living, making it a strategic time to sell.
Do you have any quantifiable data? I have two more questions. Do you have any quantifiable data as it relates to climate moves?
Certainly, in 2024, there was a noticeable trend of homeowners relocating to areas with lower living costs and warmer climates. For instance, Florida saw a 1.7% year-over-year decline in median home prices by March 2025, largely due to high mortgage rates, rising property taxes, and insurance costs. Similarly, Texas cities like Austin and Dallas experienced declines in monthly mortgage payments driven by decreased home buying demand and economic uncertainty. These shifts indicate that many homeowners are seeking more affordable and economically stable regions.
Okay, so I get that, but my real question was, climate, climate change. Do we have any quantifiable data as it relates to people relocating to areas that might have less climate risk as opposed to, say, Florida or Texas or California for that matter?
Interestingly, even with rising climate risks like sea levels and wildfires, many Americans continued relocating to high-risk areas like Florida, Texas, and California in 2024. However, there's a growing trend of people seeking regions with lower climate risks, such as the Midwest or inland areas, driven by concerns over natural disasters and the long-term sustainability of living in coastal or fire-prone regions.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I believe that that's going to be a thing here in the next decade, is we are going to see, especially as the climate continues to heat up and the storms that we've already experienced become more stronger and more costly and more often. I believe that we're going to see a real trend in that particular area, but we shall wait and see. But we can say that we predicted it here. So we're going to take a commercial break from List Reports, and we'll be right back.
List Reports is a free, personalized marketing solution for agents designed specifically to save you time and streamline your workload. Looking to promote listings? When each of your listings hit the MLS, a personalized marketing kit is automatically created for you in under an hour. It contains more than 25 ready-to-use digital marketing materials. These beautifully branded items include open house flyers, single property websites, postcards, and more. Looking to build your social media brand but not sure what to post? Check out our free shareable social images delivered daily along with relevant news articles condensed into easily digestible notables. Each shareable and notable includes a pre-written caption and is ready to post directly to social media in seconds. Looking to share listings but hate the stale feel of your MLS? List packs are perfect for sharing collections of listings on social media or directly with buyers, including homes with pools, open houses, upgraded kitchens, and more. You can also create customized collections that highlight specific market areas and home features for current clients or to share with potential buyers on social media. You can unlock even more features by co-branding with a loan officer on list reports. By pairing with a loan officer, you'll unlock immediate access to even more features, including a library of over 500 customizable shareable images, additional marketing materials, and a custom text-to-lead code that helps you accurately capture more prospective buyers with less work. All of our marketing solutions are easy to use, mobile-friendly, and designed to engage your clients. Best of all of this is free for you to use and conveniently accessible via your daily agent email sent to your inbox every morning. Start each day off right with list reports. Off right with list reports.
Hello, and hey, you know what? Hey, forgive me for that. Hey, I seem to have a little technical difficulty, and we are going to blame that on Xfinity because I have had more than my fair share of challenges with streaming on Xfinity. But you know what? There's a new game in town. It's called Easy, so we may want to check it out. But look, if you're a real estate agent and you don't have list reports, well, just get in touch with me because it's free. And as the most recent video demonstrated, there's tons and tons of collateral for you to go out, build your particular brand and on social media, and to help generate leads for you and your team. So now, with that said, we're going to move on to talking point number 3, and the Fed's pause continues. For the third time in a row, the Fed held its benchmark state rate steady at 4.25 to 4.5%, despite softening inflation and GDP contraction. The uncertainty is around what? I think we've been talking about this. Trump's tariff has them cautious. It's a watch and wait moment. It was the stupidest economic decision a president has made in my lifetime. With that said, we're going to bring ChatGPT in here and see what ChatGPT's comments are with the questions that we have for ChatGPT today. So, ChatGPT, do you think the Fed will be forced to cut later this year if GDP continues to fall?
It's definitely on the table. If GDP keeps contracting and inflation remains subdued, the Fed might have no choice but to cut rates to stimulate growth. However, they'll likely weigh other factors like employment data and global economic conditions. The uncertainty around tariffs and geopolitical risks might also influence their decision.
Yes, and the one single item that I am concerned about the most is what? Stagflation. We talked about it last week, and for me, that's a precursor to not just recession, but potential depression. So you have, um, rising rates and rising unemployment and inflation, and that is the worst possible scenario. Even during COVID, we may have had rising unemployment, but we had the lowering of interest rates, which was really, really good for a lot of people who were not impacted directly by COVID as it relates to their employment. Same thing during the Great Recession. It's the first time the Fed's ever introduced quantitative easing. And, I'd hate to believe that because of the introduction of tariffs, whose idea was that? That we could end up in a stagflation type economy where there's no growth, rates are high, inflation's increasing. So, with that said, ChatGPT, how should real estate professionals prepare for a longer rate plateau?
Real estate professionals should focus on educating their clients about the new normal in interest rates. Encourage buyers to look at long-term affordability rather than waiting for rates to drop. Highlight the importance of locking in rates when they're favorable and exploring creative financing options like adjustable rate mortgages or buy downs. Staying informed about economic trends and maintaining a strong network will help them guide clients effectively through uncertain times.
Agreed too, and I think a lot of sellers have yet to come to terms with the fact that, hey, COVID is over. Inventory in the resale market is increasing. There is more competition out there, and I've actually seen appraisals come in short recently, and that is a clear indicator that the market is changing, and that, hey, if we end up in a place of stagflation, ChatGPT, don't you agree that very likely that we would see home valuations decrease potentially on a nationwide basis, keeping in mind though that we've had a shortage since the Great Recession that could continue to prop up some of those prices. What's your perspective?
You're right on point. Stagflation could put downward pressure on home values, especially if higher unemployment and inflation reduce buyer purchasing power. However, the persistent housing shortage since the Great Recession could act as a buffer, preventing a steep decline in prices. The market could see a more balanced correction rather than a crash, but it would still mean a notable shift from the rapid appreciation we've seen in recent years.
Definitely, definitely. And might be good and healthy for real estate in the long term to have a correction like that. So, with that said, we're going to move on to the next segment. And today's segment is Budget Beyond the Mortgage. Buying a home isn't just about the loan, it's the full lifestyle cost associated with ownership. And so that includes insurance, maintenance, utilities, and property taxes. A smart borrower is a stress-free borrower. And we call it here at Mortgage Mac, Team Mortgage Mac, we call it E to the power of three. Educate the buyer. So the buyer feels empowered with the decisions that they're making. And together, the only thing that's left for us to do is execute. So, with that said, we're going to bring in our favorite and only co host and ask a couple of questions. So, hey, ChatGPT, what's one expense that homeowners consistently underestimate?
One expense that homeowners consistently underestimate is maintenance and repairs. While they might budget for the mortgage and insurance, unexpected costs like a new roof, HVAC repairs, or plumbing issues can add up quickly. It's crucial to set aside a rainy day fund for these inevitable expenses to avoid financial strain down the line.
Definitely, definitely. Hey, and if you can hear the noise in the background, it's my wife. She's cooking this salsa for lunch today, and it's going to be fantastic. So, with that said, let's move on to Stoic quote of the week. And today's or this week's Stoic quote is, well, let's just say this. Let's pause for a little timeless wisdom because in real estate, much like life, mindset is everything. And Stoic quote of the week is difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. And I don't know about you, I try to stimulate. I work out almost every single morning, but I can tell you the older I get, the more day offs I need. and but you know what? I'm just consume printed material, and well, it's not even printed anymore. It's on my cell phone. So, but I'm a book reader, and so we're going to bring ChatGPT in here and let her give us maybe a little advice as it relates to the relevancy of this quote to real estate today.
This quote is a gem, especially in the real estate world. Just like physical labor builds strength, facing challenges in the market, whether it's navigating tough negotiations, adapting to economic shifts, or dealing with client concerns, strengthens your skills and resilience. It's a reminder that every hurdle is an opportunity to grow and become even more effective in helping clients and building your business.
That's right. Difficulty strengthen the mind as labor does the body. And who was the philosopher that made that statement? ChatGPT?
That quote is from Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers. He was all about using adversity as a tool for personal growth and mental fortitude. A perfect mindset.
No doubt. Growing up in a trailer park in Louisiana, man, we had to use some fortitude. Let me tell you, that is just an absolute fact. So we're gonna have a little fun with puns. And before we close out today's show, let's lighten things up because in real estate and in mortgages, if the rates, the news, politics don't make you laugh, hopefully these puns will. So let's start out with pun number one, and we're gonna bring in our resident comedian. Hey, ChatGPT, can you be a comedian for us today?
Absolutely, I'd love to. All right, here's the fun one. Why did the mortgage broker break up with the calculator? Because they felt they had too many unresolved issues.
Okay, I'm gonna try one. Is a hidden mountain peak a sneak peek or something else?
Haha, that's a good one. I'd say it's definitely a sneak peek, but only if you're on the lookout for some elevated views.
Okay, what did the beach say at low tide?
What?
Long time no see.
Haha, perfect. The beach always knows how to keep it breezy.
This is supposed to be fun, but I think it's all too real. Cannibals use social media to meet new people. Meet, MEAT, meet new people.
Oh, that's hilariously punny, and maybe a bit too on the nose. They're
Yeah,
definitely taking
definitely taking what? Go ahead.
definitely taking having friends for dinner to a whole new level.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. He stole underwear. It was a brief crime spree. See if you like that one.
Oh, that's a classic. Short and snappy, just like the getaway.
What do fish say in Spanish?
What?
Nada.
Love it. They're really good at keeping ends real.
What's my favorite pun? Do you know?
I sure do. Who's always shaking her fins? Sharkira.
That's
A
right.
true fantastic.
That's right. Sharkira. That's actually not my favorite pun, but I'm glad that you believe that it is, ChatGPT. And hey, when you touch wood, are you feeling bored?
Haha, nice one. I guess it depends if you're not into it.
Okay, so how about this one? I really, really like this one. When interest rates attack, call who?
Oh,
Mortgage Mac.
of course. When interest rates attack, call Mortgage Mac to save the day.
I mean, you're like my partner, right? You're supposed to know that one. And, really, my favorite pun is bad puns. That's how I roll. Okay, so for today's outro, so thanks for joining us for this week's episode of What's Up with Real Estate, and thank you to our sponsors, Ray, List Reports, and well, we didn't have any graphics from MBS Highway today, but they are producing some quality graphics for the show, and we do appreciate them. We're going to bring in our resident know-it-all, and she's gonna have some parting words for us. Go ahead, ChatGPT.
Thanks, Mortgage Mac. It's been a blast co hosting with you today. Remember, folks, knowledge is power in real estate, and a little humor goes a long way. Stay tuned for more updates, insights, and a few laughs along the way.
That's
See you
right.
next time.
That's right. And remember, knowledge is the key to making the best decisions for you and your clients. And join us here every Saturday at 10 a.m. on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. And until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you at closing. Have a great day.